Turns out, lizard men can't handle a good old-fashioned punch to the face. The Galactic Council, comprised of representatives from dozens of starfaring species, had never seen anything like Earth. When the Council first stumbled upon our backwater planet, they deemed it a primitive curiosity, a place to be cataloged and quarantined. But then came the invasion. Arrogant, ill-planned, and disastrously ill-prepared for the reality of Earth. For centuries, the Council had maintained an uneasy peace throughout the galaxy. Conflicts were resolved with diplomacy, technological superiority, or, if necessary, surgical strikes by elite forces. The Council had grown soft, accustomed to dealing with their internal squabbles through methods that required little more than a flick of a tentacle or the pressing of a holographic button. But the Council had never dealt with humans. When the aliens first landed, they came in sleek ships bristling with advanced weaponry. They expected surrender, compliance, and submission. They did not expect a shotgun blast to the face at point-blank range from a Montana rancher defending his cattle. Nor did they expect an entire nation of similarly armed and furious humans to respond with a ferocity unmatched in their millennia-spanning history. The first weeks of the invasion were a bloodbath for the aliens. Earth's diverse and harsh environments, from frozen tundras to scorching deserts, proved deadly to the invaders. Their sophisticated energy weapons malfunctioned in the humid jungles, and their bioengineered soldiers fell prey to the diseases and predators that humans had been battling since they first walked upright. The aliens were not prepared for the human way of war, adaptable, ruthless, and deeply personal. It wasn't just military forces they faced, but every man with a hunting rifle, every farmer with a pitchfork, and every teenager who knew how to rig an explosive out of household chemicals. One of the most significant early battles took place in the Amazon rainforest. The Kusht, a reptilian species known for their brute strength and thick hides, thought the dense jungle would give them the upper hand. They were wrong. Human guerrilla tactics, honed through centuries of conflicts from the Viet Cong to the drug cartels, turned the rainforest into a trap. The Kusht, unfamiliar with the terrain and unable to see their foes, were picked off one by snipers who seemed to vanish into the foliage. The Council's high command, situated safely on the moon, was in a state of disbelief. Reports flooded in of units decimated by what they considered primitive ballistic weapons, traps that reduced entire platoons to shredded meat, and the relentless psychological warfare humans waged with their hit-and-run tactics. General Marcus Hunter was a name that quickly became infamous among the invaders. A former Special Forces operative, Hunter had seen his fair share of combat, but nothing could have prepared him for fighting aliens on his home turf. He led a ragtag militia in the American Midwest, turning rolling plains and farmlands into deadly kill zones. The alien walkers, massive bipedal machines armed with plasma cannons, found themselves ambushed and destroyed by homemade IEDs and precision-guided rocket launchers. The pinnacle of early human resistance came during the Battle of New York. The alien flagship, a colossal floating fortress, descended above Manhattan, casting a shadow over the city. The aliens broadcasted their demands for immediate surrender, expecting compliance. Instead, they were met with a barrage of missiles from hidden launch sites, followed by waves of guerrilla fighters emerging from the subway tunnels and skyscrapers. It was here that the humans demonstrated one of their most dangerous traits, their ingenuity. The aliens, with all their technological prowess, did not anticipate the human ability to repurpose civilian technology for warfare. Drones hacked and weaponized swarmed the alien command centers. Improvised railguns, built from salvaged electromagnetic components, punched holes in the alien armor. Even simple Molotov cocktails, hurled from rooftops, wreaked havoc on the alien troops. But it was not just human weaponry that made the difference. It was their resilience, their unwillingness to bow to a superior force, and their capacity for unity in the face of annihilation. Men who had never held a gun before took up arms, trained by veterans who had seen combat in deserts and mountains across the globe. The invaders, expecting a disorganized rabble, found themselves facing a united front of warriors who fought for every inch of their homeland. The Galactic Council, monitoring the situation from their distant strongholds, began to realize the depth of their miscalculation. Earth was not just another planet to be conquered. It was a crucible of conflict, a forge that had tempered humanity into something far more dangerous than they had ever anticipated. The Council's forces were being bled dry, their morale shattered, and their strategic objectives slipping further out of reach with each passing day. Yet this was only the beginning. The true horror for the invaders was not just the immediate brutal resistance they faced, but the dawning realization that humanity had only begun to tap into its potential for war. With each day, human forces grew more coordinated, their tactics more refined, and their resolve more unbreakable. The Council had awakened a sleeping giant, and the full wrath of Earth was yet to be unleashed. General Hunter, standing amidst the ruins of what was once a peaceful suburban neighborhood, watched as his men prepared for the next wave of attacks. He knew that this war was far from over, but he also knew that humanity had already shown the aliens a glimpse of what it meant to fight on Earth, a death world where even the smallest creatures were fighters and where humans were the apex predators. And he was ready to show them so much more. The aliens called it the Great Reversal, the moment they realized they had bitten off far more than they could chew. Across the globe, the tide of battle had shifted dramatically. The initial shock of the invasion had worn off, replaced by a grim determination and a surge of technological ingenuity from the human resistance. In the heart of Africa, the Maasai warriors, armed with spears and a deep knowledge of their land, took on the lithe, multi-limbed Gort. These aliens, whose strength lay in their agility and superior climbing abilities, found themselves outmatched in close quarters by the ferocity and tactical acumen of the Maasai. They were lured into narrow gorges, ambushed in the tall grass, and outmaneuvered in ways they could scarcely comprehend. The Maasai, silent and deadly, turned the savannah into a graveyard of fallen invaders. Meanwhile, in the freezing wastelands of Siberia, the tough-as-nails Siberian partisans engaged the amphibious Andri, whose biological adaptations made them formidable in wet environments but vulnerable to extreme cold. Utilizing hidden-run tactics perfected through generations, the partisans sabotaged supply lines and launched surprise attacks on encampments. They took advantage of the Andri's reliance on their environmental suits, which were prone to freezing and malfunctioning in the brutal cold. These suits became icy tombs as the humans pressed their relentless assault. In the sprawling deserts of Australia, the Yaks, traditionally reclusive, emerged to fight alongside the Australian Defence Forces. Their intimate knowledge of the outback, combined with the ADF's disciplined military tactics, created a deadly synergy. The Calagon, a species adapted to aid worlds with sprawling underground networks, were defeated as their tunnels collapsed from precise human-placed charges. Surface combat, where they expected to dominate, turned into a nightmare as a human struck with sniper fire from camouflage positions. Then there were the urban guerrilla fighters in the ruins of Tokyo. The city, a twisted landscape of rubble and shattered skyscrapers, became the stage for relentless urban warfare. The insectoid Drow, who thrived in tight, complex environments, were confronted by a human resistance that navigated the city with ease. The Tokyo fighters utilized the labyrinthine subways, destroyed infrastructure, and knowledge of every alleyway to their advantage, creating kill zones that trapped and annihilated the invaders. The Galactic Council's overconfidence was shattered, not just by human tenacity, but also by their propensity for rapid technological adaptation. Alien energy weapons, once an overwhelming advantage, were soon countered. Human engineers, both in makeshift laboratories and hidden underground facilities, reverse-engineered these weapons. The result was the creation of hybrid armaments that combined human ballistic technology with alien energy projectors, giving resistance fighters a significant boost in firepower. One such engineer, Dr. Nathaniel Reyes, led a covert team deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Their work culminated in the development of the ARC-7, a rifle capable of firing both traditional ammunition and concentrated plasma bursts. This weapon quickly became a symbol of human ingenuity and resilience, turning the tide in several key battles. Reyes and his team, drawing from a diverse pool of global knowledge, also developed countermeasures against the alien shielding technology, rendering the invader defenses increasingly ineffective. In Europe, the ancient castles and fortresses were repurposed as formidable strongholds. The castle of Nanstein, overlooking the Bavarian Alps, became a beacon of resistance, manned by a coalition of European forces and local militias. It served as both a defensive bastion and a staging ground for coordinated assaults. The aliens, unable to breach the medieval walls fortified with modern defenses, suffered heavy casualties in their futile attempts to capture it, General Hunter, now a key figure in the global resistance, coordinated with leaders from every continent. In a hidden command center, he pored over maps and intelligence reports. His keen strategic mind recognized the importance of unity and adaptation. The humans, previously fractured by borders and politics, now fought as one species, driven by a singular goal: survival. But it was not just the grand battles and technological triumphs that defined humanity's resistance. It was the spirit of ordinary people, the farmers who defended their fields with rifles and determination, the mechanics who repaired vehicles and weapons under the cover of darkness, the medics who risked their lives to save the wounded. It was the children who carried messages across enemy lines, the mothers who refused to flee and instead fought to protect their homes, and the elderly who shared their wisdom and knowledge to aid the resistance. As the war dragged on, the Galactic Council began to realize that Earth was not a planet to be conquered, but a crucible of strength and ingenuity. The humans, forged by centuries of conflict and adversity, had become the nightmare of every invading force. The Council, now faced with mounting losses and dwindling resources, began to reconsider their position. Negotiations were whispered in shadowy corridors, and emissaries were sent to explore the possibility of a truce. But for humanity, the war was no longer just about survival. It was a statement, a declaration to the galaxy that Earth was not a planet to be taken lightly. As General Hunter stood on a makeshift podium, addressing a crowd of resistance fighters, his voice carried a message that would resonate across the stars. "We are not just fighting for our planet," he declared. "We are fighting for our future, for our right to exist, for the freedom to stand among the stars as equals. This is our home, and we will never surrender." As the crowd erupted in cheers, the aliens watched from their dwindling strongholds. The humans were not just defending their world. They were rewriting the rules of galactic warfare. And the galaxy would never be the same,